Welcome to Making It Happen, a career in the performing arts, where we discuss how to break into the performing arts industry for yourself or your child, teen, or young adult. Guests include artists, creatives, casting directors, musical directors, choreographers, agents and managers, as well as parents of young professional actors, singer, dancers, all who are passionate and share my vision of helping talented individuals land professional representation and have successful careers in the arts. My name is Lisa Solek, and I am the CEO and founder of Making It Happen, a career in the performing arts, having helped hundreds of clients break into the business on stage, in films, television, commercial work, and more. This podcast is supplemental to my groundbreaking online courses, Professional Kids and Teens 101, a primer for parents, and Professional Biz 201 for young adults, college students, and graduates. For more information, check out all the ways you can benefit from my courses, programs, free weekly newsletters, and free guides. Go to lbctalent.com. My guest today is Wayne Petro. Hey, Wayne, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Lisa?
I'm so good. I am thrilled you're here today to talk to me.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled as well.
Perfect. I think, as you know, our listeners are all parents of talented children, teens, and young adults. There are also young adults who are either college-bound seniors, as well as young adults who are in college and who have graduated, some of whom are trying to pursue the performing arts without that higher education degree, like all of that. So that pretty much encompasses the listening base, and everyone wants to know, how do you break into this business? How do you obtain all of those opportunities that sometimes people put, they think of it as this golden castle on the hill, that they're stretching their way to some type of, I want to be famous mountaintop, and it's so not like that. So part of why we do the podcast is I'm trying to open up the knowledge door so that people can have a better sense of all the opportunities that are there if they are very passionate about the arts. So I want to talk first about your personal journey, because all of our guests, that's what it's about, how they ended up working in the arts in various ways. So tell me a little bit about when you first caught the bug of wanting to
do
arts, and what landed you at a school in Seattle for theater.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm sure that every guest that you have on your podcast says the same thing, that, there are so many different paths to finding what, we think of as success in the arts. And there are lots of different factors and, what is success in the arts, right? And I come from a family, specifically more on my father's side of musicians. And I actually grew up probably the most opposite place that you could imagine, but I grew up on a ranch in Montana. Yeah, I did.
And was there a lot of art in that area? Well, a lot of
not a lot. I mean, I grew up, my dad is a musician, continues to perform in his retirement. Specifically, they live now in Arizona and Montana, so he has a chance to perform in both spaces. So,
awesome.
And he books gigs on a weekly basis. He's 79 years old. My stepmom performs with him.
Really? Wait, what's his instrument of choice? What is he?
Guitar and voice.
Guitar
so
and
he
voice?
Sings old country tunes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I want to go see him. I want to take a trip and go see him.
I have some recordings. Yes.
That's very cool.
So I grew up with my dad singing in the house all the time, and we had a piano, and so I taught myself piano, and but I never really took voice lessons, or I never took piano lessons. It was kind of just something for me that I did after school, and so yes, my piano technique right now, while I can plunk out everything, my fingering, my keyboarding technique it's really bad.
That's really to be commended, that you taught yourself how to play.
Yeah, we had this little like the thing that you taped to the back. It was an
Oh,
upright
right.
piano, a really old upright piano, and it showed the keys. And I was
I
like, oh,
remember this.
I can see the note on the page, so why can't I just do this? That kind of led into I went to a very, very small elementary and middle school one-room schoolhouse. And then I went to a larger public high school in the town near where we grew up. And I didn't play any instruments or anything, but I wanted to, right? I didn't have any opportunity to play anything before high school. So I found the French horn both aesthetically pleasing to look at and aesthetically
Yes.
pleasing to play. And
It's very difficult to play. That is one of the most difficult instruments to play.
uh, it is and isn't. I don't know.
Okay.
I just had an affinity for it, and
Okay.
I started on I very briefly played trumpet. I got a hand-me-down trumpet
Okay.
and learned that for a few months. But then I was like, that French horn over there that's sitting in the corner that no one's playing, I
Yeah.
want to play that.
Mhm.
So I did, and I started out learning myself with my band teacher. He was excellent at kind of getting me started with it. But then he played in the Billings Symphony Orchestra, and he was like, "You should take lessons from our principal horn player." So I started doing that pretty quickly and advanced. Music is really at the core of me as an artist, and
Okay.
it was not a super difficult thing for me to do. It sounds weird, but you're a musician, your family
Yes.
is, so it
Yes.
just yeah.
It's
And
an
I was in.
affinity. That it's an affinity that I think I talk about this all the time. Let me interject one thing. Is it, it's that whole idea, is it genetics or is it the environment? You know, we could possibly agree that it's a little bit of both, in these kinds of conversations. But yeah, I think definitely just from being in it my entire life, I feel like there's definitely a genetic piece. Even when parents say, "Oh, I don't know how she learned how to sing. I don't know where that came from," but then you find out later on that
Somewhere.
and
Yeah,
yeah, somewhere in the lineage, their 80-year
yeah,
old, great grandmother
yeah.
or whatever knew someone in the lineage that was on in vaudeville or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And my mom actually, she, while never being much of a musician, she was an excellent sketcher and drawer, and that's what I remember of my mom. My mom passed away almost 20 years ago, but I remember as a child she would draw, she would sketch every once in a while, and she was quite excellent. And her mom, my grandmother, had an organ in the house, so there is a little bit of that on both sides, I think.
Hmm.
But anyway, so I did that in high school, and then I was in choir, and I was a drama geek. I was in
Okay.
student leadership, and
Okay.
just really engaged in my high school, Laurel High School in Montana. If
I love that.
I'm a very proud alum of the program, because your drama teacher, your choir teacher, your band teacher, for people like me, are your space, right?
Yes,
And if I had not
absolutely.
had those three individuals in high school, I certainly would not be here. Yeah, and then I decided to audition for colleges, and I went to school for horn performance,
Okay.
and well, music ed horn performance, and then I added vocal performance into there as well. So I went to Eastern Washington University in Cheney, Washington,
Okay.
and I was in the choir, the top choir in the band and orchestra, and I was having a beautiful time. But the musical theater acting bug was still there,
Was it there
and
but suppressed, or was it there and you were afraid?
I don't think I was. I did participate in a number of shows at Eastern in
Okay.
my first and second year, actually.
Okay.
And so I was able I was able to be on stage. But this is going to sound very no, I don't want to say trite, but this was near Spokane, Washington, and a musical that I grew up on is Rent. I'm definitely a
Of
rent head,
course. Of course.
and a tour came through, and I saw it as many times as I possibly could, and then I started to have the question of like, why am I not? I guess deep down, just wanted to be up there, right?
Okay.
And I had enjoyed my theater performance experiences so much that literally, within weeks after seeing that, I was like, I'm denying myself this little thing. And I had known of Cornish since high school because, I was one of those students that sat in the counselor's office and like picked out cool looking brochures and like, oh, this place looks great. And like dreaming like outside of Montana. I'm the first in my family to go to college. So like the idea of college was kind of something that I had to lead with.
So
my family didn't.
You had to navigate it yourself.
Yeah. My parents didn't know, they weren't familiar with the college prep scene, so I kind of did all of that. I did all that work on my own. They actually didn't even know that I was applying to the places that I was applying to.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but supportive, absolutely. And anyway, Cornish is something that I had known for a long time because I had poured through the material and the literature that they had sent, and I was like, this is there's something there. And so I set up an audition. I applied, set up an audition, and went and drove my car over to Seattle, and I auditioned for the program. One of the last auditions. It was like either that or I would become a music choir teacher or a band teacher. And it was like this one thing I was like, let's just see what happens. Not what I recommend now.
So wait, so you drove by yourself?
I did, yes. I drove once out there to take a campus tour with a friend. And then on the day of, I hopped in my car really early in the morning. It's only a 4-hour drive from Spokane to Seattle. And I did my, I was obviously screaming my lines and my music in the car. But I will always remember there's this, this is becoming like a Wayne story, but
no,
I've made that drive from Seattle to from Spokane to Seattle and Seattle to Spokane many times. And when you come over the Cascades into the Puget Sound area, it's just misty and there's water running off of the rock walls, and it was March-ish, so it was a little brisk, but you're leaving the valleys of central Washington, and you're just coming over, and the quality of light is different. And it just something got in my blood, and I was like, this is where I can thrive more. So I auditioned, I got in and enrolled, and Cornish is and still is so near and dear and deep for me. When I say that my my high school band, choir, and drama teacher got me where I am, it's really, and Cornish was the next step for that. The training at Cornish is incredible. It's unique. It's very much a conservatory experience there. So I have a BFA in theater, performing arts, which is the musical theater track that we had at the time. They now have a fully fledged musical theater program there. But I was able to take voice lessons in the music department, and we had a dance track that we did as well. But more so, I think, some of the sound bites from the training, that it's not all necessarily about Broadway. Like, how do you be successful as an artist, and longevity in the arts, and being able to truly understand your own voice and your space. I owe so much. Like, I got, when we say a toolbox approach at PACE, but that's really something that they were giving us at Cornish.
Wow.
The training there is completely exceptional and a really holistic experience. So I always talk about Cornish when I'm talking to students, and there are a lot of things that are really similar between Cornish and PACE now, especially like in the last 5-10 years, with the humans that we're hiring.
Let me ask you this: after college, after you got this BFA, did you work professionally? Did you jump right into working professionally? And where was that? And what kind of opportunities were there?
Yeah, it's interesting. In my senior year, like many schools do, we do a showcase, and not just for representation. In Seattle, there isn't as much. So our senior folks were not necessarily pushing us to get representation, because there isn't a lot of union. There's not as much work there. And in some instances, that could hold us back. So we, in that, a number of theater companies, Oregon Shakes, Milwaukee Rep, and a local theater called Book It Repertory Theater, which is they restage classic books and
nice.
use like a narrative style of dialogue, like he said, and then they say their
Oh,
own.
that's interesting. I love that.
Yeah. And so I got an internship. We did A Tale of Two Cities.
Okay.
And so I was doing a professional work in my last semester of college there. And then I was also working, I was a work study student at Cornish as well. And that actually ended up being a full-time job after I graduated, which is very lucky, a testament to work study students out there, because literally that's where my higher ed part really started as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I worked in the registrar's office, but then shortly after graduation, another friend that had graduated from University of Washington, she and I, she wanted to move to New York, and I was like, I went there once for spring break, and New York it felt really claustrophobic, and I didn't, honestly, while I had a great time seeing shows and wandering the city, I never saw myself here. It just was not. I was like, I love Seattle. Like, my roots are here. Like, this is a place where I can really be amazing. But then, suddenly I was like, well, what if? Like, if I'm going to do it, I was already 24, having gone to undergrad for 6 years.
Okay.
So if you're ever going to do it, like, I guess now's the time. So I was like, okay, fine, absolutely. I'll move to New York.
Okay.
And it was the most irrational thing that I've ever done, and the best thing that I've ever done. It was a little rough at first, but my first job was through a Cornish connection. We still work together at Soho Rep here.
Okay. All right.
Here in New York. Very cool. Yeah. Right. So I've been there for 14 years.
What?
Yeah.
So that was the connection from Cornish?
Yes, yeah. So our head of box office, William, he graduated from Cornish a year before, but our alumni networks are really strong. There are a lot of Cornish alumni out here, and they're like, oh wait, we need help. I mean, my job is front of house box office, but like, I get to meet the most amazing humans coming through downtown theater scene, and really the change makers and the artists that are the important folks to be listening to right now. So it keeps me connected with the community. Even my little part, but like, there's no, not to use the cliche, but there are no small parts in theater, but that, even, Broadway ushering and box office, it is, I still feel that, I'm part of what helps the show happen every night in my own little way, outside of the space. So
totally. Yeah.
It's a wonderful second job for me, from my primary jobs at Pace.
So you said that when you first moved to New York City, that had to be a huge change after growing up in Montana, landing in Seattle, which is a very artistic area. I have some relatives out there as well, and it's a very eclectic, artistic.
Yeah.
I can see why you loved it there. But yeah, making that decision to come to New York, were there struggles? You mentioned struggles a little bit. Can you share what they were and how you navigated that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing was, housing and finding a job, because I didn't have a place to live when I moved here, and obviously I had no job at first. The Soho Rep thing, it was Sarah Benson's first show, Blasted by Sarah Kane, which extended for months and was a huge show to see in 2008. I did end up getting a job at Pace in May of 2008. It was in like a student support office, because it was what I had the resume for, and I was like, I need a day job, And I got involved with a lovely group of humans that make up Half Straddle, who now have been successful on Broadway. And so we were just this scrappy group of NYU ETW folks and Cornish, and kind of found, and again, I was mostly not performing at the time. I was just helping them because, like stage managing and they let me produce and like direct like a scene or so. But they were creating some really wacky theater that has done very well for them, and I'm just so thrilled to get to. So I was doing I was just meeting everyone that I could. Sure. And and I'm a pretty outgoing person, and and will do anything, in the theater. So like it opened up a lot of doors for me to meet the folks.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a job at Pace, and then I morphed into the admissions office quite quickly. And then I went to Marymount for a time as their dance and theater admissions coordinator back in 2011.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I was there for a little bit, and then and I loved my experience at Marymount. Marymount has an amazing program that I still obviously respect and talk about a lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there were some changes going on at Pace back in 2012. There's some new leadership and administration. So I ended up going back into the first iteration of what my job is currently, which has morphed, in the past 10 years.
Now you also went and got a master's.
Yeah, so I got my master's from Drexel I have a Master of Science in Arts Administration.
How did you get that in? Did you leave the city for that time frame, or?
No, I did. Well, I had to go down for a residency, but I did it online before online was cool.
I love that.
But I was nervous about it, like having studied 6 years in undergrad in music and performing arts, I was like, how is this going to work? How's this going to work online? But you know what? For the type of program that it was, and that it is still to this day, it really is. It's so excellent. Like there's, online it requires a lot more reading, a lot more writing. Like you can't just raise your hand in class and try to like spew something out, right? You actually have to construct it into and cite your works. And I did so much reading and writing in that program. So again, the Drexel Master of Science program is incredible. I think has incorporated a lot more museum studies in, which I was also like, some of my favorite courses were in visual arts administration and museum management.
Oh, okay.
Was like, and my international cultural policy course was really really cool.
Interesting. I would like that. The left side of my brain would be twitching. I'm very much a Renaissance girl.
Yeah. I get that.
Oh my gosh. So you landed in this administrative position at Pace. But can you talk a little bit about how you continue to feed your artistic self in theatrical endeavors? Like, are you doing anything? Are you on stage in your free time? What if you have free time to do that? Like, are you doing that, or is it mostly like you feel self-satisfied being a part of the arts, doing what you're doing? If you could do
that. I really feel self-satisfied. I've been able to kind of combine to marry the two sides with by working in higher education and the arts. I have been in a few small little shows around town. I was in the International Theater Festival in a show a couple of years ago. I've been in a few little I've been in like small fringe stuff, but not recently. I've been just so busy with that, and I get to teach a little bit at Pace as well. I teach acting for non-majors, which is really fulfilling. I have found I'm working on a little project right now with another faculty member that I'm hoping can come into a more fruition. But I'm honestly just being around the students every day, hearing them in the practice rooms and interacting with them in the elevators and in class and advising them. They're kind of, I'm living vicariously through them. For sure.
That's a good thing. That's nothing wrong with that.
They just inspire me to no end. I try to see everything that they do, and I see them in shows after they graduate. We just saw Into the Woods. We had our closing night last night, which was outstanding. She Loves Me was last week. We did a new play, The Chechens, which was a very difficult piece. And they were just these students. We have our international performance ensemble coming up, our dance concerts coming up. And we have our film and TV stuff going on right now. I'm just surrounded by it, and I'm immersed, and I live in it, and that really does. It keeps me going.
Feed the need.
It really does.
Yeah,
for sure. Now that's not to say that that increasingly, now that grad school's over, now that I'm have a stable living environment with my partner, I'm like, okay, now maybe we can start to have some more performance come in, and I will do it when I'm ready and I need to get back there.
Sure. It's always there. It's always something that you can kind of rekindle. And the
Yeah.
energy from the students must be just thrilling to a certain degree, you know, that they have that energy and they're so excited about the training and about their future and, you know, all of that. I'm jealous. I wish I could live in that space with you. It sounds like it's
It
an
is. It's
amazing
just
space to be
always
in.
vibrating.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's and this is, I know this is true of, I'm my colleagues at all of the other my peer institutions. We talk about this a lot, but we work with a very special group of human beings who know what they want to do.
Yes.
And so many, other majors, around college campuses around the country, they come in because, their parents are saying, do this because this is what we want you to do. Or they come in being like, they just want me to go to college. I don't know what I'm doing. Or, something that, in high school they were told, and they're like, well, let me try this. Our students, for the most part, are very different. They're coming in, they've set that goal for graduation so much earlier about where they want to be.
Absolutely.
So we work with a very different type of human being in these programs, and that's really exciting for the faculty, for sure, that actually get to be in the rooms with them. But it's exciting for me on the front set because I get to meet parents and families, kind of beginning in the junior, senior year. So my journey with families is quite long, and it's really nice to be able to intersect with them at that really early age, see how the students are growing, see how the conversations change, and the parents and the students especially, they're so they know the questions to ask, and I can tell if they've asked the question at previous institutions because they're like, okay, putting on things on charts, like this is the response to this. So it's really cool to see such prepared families. And I will say, it's not every family has those same opportunities. There's some high schools that don't produce a lot of work or do any, or don't have theater and music and art, So I'm a huge advocate of arts and education, beginning at the earliest possible age, but not everywhere is equal in that way, or internationally as well.
And do you guys recognize that? Do you tend to recognize that in the audition process at Pace as well?
Yeah, so I think we've designed a process that really enables students to come in on kind of a level playing field. So we don't require like a classical monologue, a Shakespeare monologue, because not everyone, comes in with any Shakespeare training. And some come in with some, but it's not good.
Not established yet.
Yeah. So we don't require classical monologue. We really, for the monologue auditions, which is for our 3 acting areas and musical theater, it really is about choosing a piece that you're able to, lend your voice to, that's age appropriate, that's something that you can connect to as a young human being, that doesn't force you to play to some extreme. Like, listen, the audition environment is not about, and I say this to my students in my own acting class, I say this to folks that I coach, it's not about pushing yourself to like the ultimate extreme, because we have to be able to see you, to understand you, to get to know kind of you as the person in it as well. Yes, you're doing the work that you've done, you've done your text analysis, it's memorized, but you have to be willing to play and live in that space many times and do it over and over and over again throughout this audition process. So it's not the space for you to be the extreme end of yourself. That's for us to work out through college and do it safely. You have to respect yourself first in this process. Only then can you begin to tackle more challenging things.
Do you feel personally like being in the New York City market or area is of the best choice, or one of the best choices for a new aspiring artist, whether they be fully trained or not?
I think that it is a best place, for sure. I mean, you walk out the door and there's an opportunity waiting for you, right? Which can be a distraction for being in a collegiate environment, for sure. But our students, in the many wonderful institutions here in New York City, it's a safety net for sure, because you are able to explore yourself as an artist while having a lot of adults that have been in the industry and are in the industry there to support and add advice, and obviously the training part of it as well. There really is no better city out there for being a performing artist than here, and even if you don't go to school here, you eventually might find your way through town. So, our students have been, pounding the sidewalk since they were 17, 18 years old. So, I think that the students that went to college here in the city are just a little bit earlier in the flow of the city. They know how to ride the subway. They go uptown to auditions. They have been extras in movie sets that are filming outside the building. They're taking dance classes at the dance studios as in addition to their training here as well. They're participating in film festivals and theater festivals. So and all of the college students here in the city, I think, feel the same. Like, the city is your campus. I'm sure some college uses that as a tagline, because it's really true it's really true of what we do. And we're able to draw, faculty that are able to keep their jobs, keep their own professions, because then they just get to come downtown and teach, right? So that's those are opportunities that we have, But then, colleges that are not here in the city, they have constructed their programs and built their programs to respond to what they need to do in the locations that they are. And we know that there are outstanding programs not in New York City that leverage the artistic community, leverage the resources and the talent of their own faculty to create world-class programs as well. So, it's just a way of responding to our geography. And
absolutely. So can we segue to the networking piece of that? How important is that for your students, and do you encourage it during the time when they're in school? It sounds like you do, but if you could speak to that networking and to how to do, maybe even specifically how to do that appropriately.
To some extent, it kind of starts right when they enter the program, because it's kind of impossible not to with the faculty and the folks that we have around them in the first couple of years. The faculty are very involved with this. Not as much me. Really, the faculty are the ones that make those connections most often. Sometimes it happens with guest artists that come into town. We send out audition notices weekly on our call board email. So students can potentially, as long as it doesn't conflict with their ability to be in class and attend school, like they can work professionally. We do allow that in the program.
That's a big one.
The first couple of years, we really try to make sure that they are, you have to come to class. There's no excuse for not being in class. Like, that's our training, that's our studio time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But professional opportunities, as do come students' ways. And we as long as they're legit and, we feel that it can work with school, then we can find ways to support that. Sometimes students have to take some time off to go on national tours or do the work that they're doing. But we've had students, current students, that have been on Broadway while they were finishing their degrees too. That doesn't usually happen in the first couple of years, but when you're a senior, junior, senior, those types of opportunities are a little bit more workable. It's harder. It's very hard to do in your first couple of years. Not to say it hasn't been done, but yeah, we do encourage that. But it's a dialogue with the student and the faculty, and sometimes me if it involves some administrative work. But every opportunity is different, as you know. And
I would think it would depend on the student and their abilities and where their forte lies and all of that.
Yes, not every student is able to work professionally, but some are. A few are. I know so many people that that came here thinking that it would. Everyone expects it to be relatively difficult, but they're just sometimes the doors just don't. The right ones aren't there. That was never really my experience in the same way, because I didn't come here just to audition, right? I came here, to establish myself, and I had a lot of friends that were working, and so all of my. This is going to sound really awful, Lisa, but like all of the work that I've done, I've never auditioned for. It's like, Wayne, can you do this.
Yes, yes, it's a network. I get it. I totally get that.
I've never really been on a professional audition.
Okay. Don't tell anyone. I'm kidding. But no, it's seriously though, that happens a lot because of who you network with, and you came here with friends and with colleagues from
I
the
didn't
space you
come.
were in.
I came here with non-performing arts folks, but then the Cornish Alumni Network really was just like, okay, I pounced a little bit, and they're like, go to this, go to this, go to this, and
Yes.
and then I got connected through the PACE community as well, and the Marymount community too. Like there are folks that that I mean I'm still in contact with all, and so yeah. But yeah, no, it takes a very it's really about just meeting people. And I saw as much theater as I possibly could and dropped myself into situations where it was possible to glean a little bit of information, not necessarily like, oh, I want to be in but just like, okay, I'm going to grab this little piece of knowledge, I'm going to take it away and I'm going to use it somewhere else.
Yes.
And then,
yes.
Yeah.
Part of what I teach.
It's hard to just. Yeah.
It's part of what I teach in the course. I get into this really nitty gritty. How do you filter in and how do you make these things work for yourself without being abrasive or bristly or anything, with actually doing it appropriately, and so that you land where you need to land or where you want to land or where you should land.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about so we have Los Angeles programs in our BFA acting program.
Oh, you do?
Our commercial dance program, and starting kind of in our acting for film and TV program. And when you talk about networking, I think about the experiences that our students have in the semester and January intersession terms that they have out there. They really come back with a different understanding of the industry, as it exists in LA. And many of them, do end up going to LA, and they know humans out there. They've already, been seen by a lot. We used to say the word gatekeeper, I guess.
They do that during an interim session. They can go to LA.
Yeah, so our senior BFA acting students go to Los Angeles in January. So they register for the credit in the spring term, but then the experience actually happens in January. So it is a 4-credit course as part of their senior experience. And then it's just literally 9 to 6 every single day in LA, weekends as well. So it's a lot that's packed into that January term. But as many folks in the industry that we can get them in front of, we do. Yeah.
And that, like you said, it gives them a better sense of how that industry works and what it's like out there, because there are actors, singer, dancers who just say, I'm going to LA to pursue this, and they really don't know how to connect and what to do. So that's incredible that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, and for our dancers, they spend an entire semester in their spring of junior year. They said they spend the whole semester out there. So it's a lot of dance and choreography on film, a lot of amazing human beings that we have with them out there, including the head of the program, Rhonda. She also lives in LA. So she parts ways with us here in New York, and Rhonda Miller. She goes out and leads the spring experience for them. So it's a head of the program still out there. She's collected her, Rhonda starts out from, Rhonda's very connected with the LA scene. She's one of the co-founders of the Edge Dance Studio. And she, her LA connections are huge. And she's done a lot of musical theater here on the East Coast as well. So she, having her lead the commercial dance program has, which is a newer dance program.
Yes, I was just going to say, can you explain what that is? Because I know you also have opportunity, and maybe if you can go into this as well, what does the commercial dance program offer, as well as I know there's an opportunity, because I was working with one of my prior clients to audition at a certain point in her experience with the PACE musical theater program, and she was able to audition to take, I guess, the dance program within the commercial dance space. Can you explain how that works as well?
Yeah, so the commercial dance program was developed by Rhonda Miller in 2010, 2011. Rhonda had been brought to PACE to lead the musical theater dance curriculum, but always had dreamed of building out a 4-year commercial dance program that responded to the entertainment industry. So we're very industry focused, very entertainment industry focused. The primary areas being ballet and jazz, as opposed to ballet and tap. We're not as much of a company dance school, we're very individualized, exposing them to as many dance styles as we possibly can. We have 14 students and alumni in the Rockettes right now. We have students on Broadway. We have students in national tours. We have students out in LA choreographing and backup dancers. And we really are training for the dance industry as a whole.
Which is incredible. I don't think that exists elsewhere that I know of.
We're definitely one of the more unique dance programs in the country, for sure. Yeah.
And definitely all those genres and reaching to that professional. I know there's dancers out there that want to dance behind an artist and they don't know how to get there. And you're offering them not only the training, but the network as well, it sounds like.
Well, yeah. And so one thing that our commercial dance focuses on increasingly in the junior and senior year is getting representation as a dancer. It's not something that's addressed in all dance programs. And that really kicks off in that LA semester. So nearly all of our dancers are signed by the time that they're seniors. So that
congratulations. That program has really developed into something super special because that does not exist elsewhere.
Yeah, we just actually had our dance intensive 2 weekends ago, and that's grades 9 through 12. It's a great way for high school dancers to get an experience of what a collegiate program can be. You know, is New York right? It's fun, and it's really eye-opening for them as well. So that dance intensive we have in October is a great opportunity.
What grade again?
Grades 9 through 12.
9 through 12. Okay.
Yeah, and for the 12th graders, there is a senior audition for acceptance into the BFA program at the intensive. So we had a lot of dancers. Actually, well, nearly all of the seniors are auditioning for the program there too.
Yeah. Incredible. So how does it work with the musical theater option?
Sure. Yeah, so the question the example that you were using before. As a student in the musical theater program, you have your own dance track, but you can also audition for a minor in dance. The dance minor is only for those that are in the school performing arts, but for the high level MT dancer, they can audition for the minor, and then they jump into commercial dance level dance classes. Participate as much as they can. They do take the core MT courses, but as at the commercial dance level. They also have to take a dance history, and I believe they have to take choreography. We have a number of students that also Emergence is coming up, but that's our advanced choreography showcase. A lot of MTs participate in that. A lot of the minors do. We have a first-year musical theater major that was cast in it. For the high-level MT dancer, they take a different curriculum.
Very cool. Yeah, it sounds like there's so much going on there. Even before you mentioned all of the different performances that are going on now and are upcoming, it sounds like just a huge plethora of options for performance opportunities for the students.
Yes, I mean each program has its own season basically, and we have 8 programs, including a design and production program, a BFA program, a BA stage management program, and a BA directing program. But all of those generate new work, and not necessarily all new work, but all of them generate work. And we admit a small-ish amount of humans into these programs. So with the idea of small classroom sizes, an intimate training environment, and production experience. No one wants to go to college for 4 years and never be in a show.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
And that just really doesn't happen in the environment that we have here. And we are obviously committed to keeping it that way. We will never be we will never have 500 musical theater majors. That just is not the way that we could. We also just don't have the space for it. But, we're in New York City.
Yes, you are.
We're always like, we need more space.
Yeah, right. So. That actually segues me right to a question. Can you clarify for parents out there, especially, and obviously prospective students, the amount of pre-screen videos you actually have to scrub through, and a little bit about that process? Because what is everyone doing? And I didn't plan this way, that this was going to be at this time, but it is literally right at the time when everyone is scrambling to put the best of themselves on film to present to not just Pace University, but to all the universities that accept pre-screened videos in the process. So if you could kind of enlighten everyone a little bit about that process, because there are probably some listeners who haven't even, they're not there yet. Their children could be freshmen in high school and they're thinking, oh dear, what if my son or daughter wants to do this? How does this actually work? So maybe talk a little bit about that without overwhelming.
Yeah, no.
Because it's a process.
Yeah, I mean, I have the long version of it, and then I have the nutshell version of it, really, or the elevator one.
Yeah.
For all colleges, it starts by just filing the academic application. That's usually what kicks that kicks the process off, and then start immediately, if not already, working on recording your pre-screen material. We use a site called Accepted, which is we actually started using Accepted in 2012, so we've been using it for since it started. Really, we were one of the first colleges to like wholeheartedly adopt it. And the pre-screen is a self-tape, and at Pace you can pre-screen for as many of the programs as you want. It's not just like one pre-screen and then we kind of choose for you. You upload separately to however many you want to do. All the instructions and like what we require are on our website, so I won't go into detail per program. And then those come through me, so that's a huge part of my day-to-day life is setting up that application, the accepted application, viewing them, getting them to the right faculty, and then all of the communication that happens from the point of yes, you got a call back, scheduling, getting them here, all of that. We do also, of course, tell students, if they did not get a call back, but they, if they're early enough in the process, they can still receive that information and choose to perhaps upload to another program that they are interested in. Mm-hmm. So that's the benefit of getting it in early, because you have a little bit of time to maybe reroute and maybe choose a different program. We only charge the accepted pre-screen once, so after that, you can do as many as you're truly interested in. And in terms of the pre-screen, we're not looking for you don't have to get it professionally recorded. Some folks will. It doesn't do you any it does you a disservice to get auto-tuned, or at the end of the day you're gonna I'm sure. Here's the thing, at the pre-screen, this is your one opportunity. You can record it 1,000 times, right? You should never submit anything that you're unhappy with. But it also doesn't mean that you should go to all these extremes to make yourself somehow artificially better than what you will actually bring to the room. Mm-hmm. So it should be an honest reflection of what you your technique and your capabilities. Mm-hmm. But yes, you can record it 1,000,000 times, right? So and unfortunately, every year there are folks, many students don't get callbacks. For musical theater, we call back only about 40% of the actual pre-screens that we get. Okay. So we'll see upwards of about 2,000 pre-screens for musical theater, and we'll try to audition about 800-ish for the actual audition. For the acting areas, we see total about 1,100, but we have 3 acting areas, so there's a lot of overlap between that, because a lot of them audition for all 3. Mm-hmm. And we'll call back about 600-ish of that. Okay. And then for dance, we see about 500 to 600 pre-screens, and we'll call back about 300, around there. And then for design and stage management and directing, we call back most of the folks for those areas. Those are areas where we don't see thousands of applications for. No school does. But that's an interview-based audition. Oh, okay. The directors actually join with our BA acting students, because they're part of our international performance ensemble. Mm-hmm. And they are new works focus. So lots of devised theater making alongside your acting track and your directing track. And the international part comes in because they spend the fall of junior year in Sitges, Spain, as part of the abroad experience. So they're working at Institute of the Arts Barcelona, also an amazing institution that's a conservatory. They really get what the type of work that we do. So they train some of our own classes, and they also train a little bit with the students that are there, and there's production opportunities for them, performance mm-hmm. opportunities for them as well. Mm-hmm. Overall, we get between 4,000 and 4,500 applications total. And then, in each of the programs, we're looking for high 20s in terms of the folks that join us.
So you do call back quite a few people.
Overall, from between the 8 programs, yeah, we do see a lot. Listen, we're not going, if there's a doubt in the pre-screen, like we're not just going through no. I mean, it's a holistic review. There are multiple faculty involved.
Okay.
With that, there are many different eyes that see it, and the head of the program is involved with all of those decisions as well. So there isn't anything that's there are not random adjuncts that are making those decisions. They're really the people that will be actually making
which is wonderful for people to know. Thank you for sharing that, because it's definitely something that I think is not talked about so much. It's not information that's always out there for everyone, and some people can feel a little bit, especially parents, can feel a little bit overwhelmed with the 2,000-3,000 submissions that they're thinking their child's going to be up against. But at the end of the day, I feel like the students have to have a passion for this even beyond their talent and ability. Tell me if you agree or not. And they have to have a certain level of grit and work ethic to be able to be successful in the end.
I say this at every audition, or I try to at least, the question of like how many we see comes up all the time from parents and some from students. And I'm like, okay, I will tell you this, I will tell you the numbers, and you can take that as you need it, but leave it behind as soon as you can, because we're not the only competitive school. Like many schools see numbers like that. You can overwhelm yourself with the sense of the odds are not in your favor in many ways. But our decisions, when all these come out in May, you'll be surprised at the array of decisions that come out. Like one school might see something, or something happened in one audition that didn't happen in others, and you at the end of the day, you have to know yourself, and it's a sense of self-confidence and spark, and I love your word grit. I've used that a few times as well. When you have the confidence of like knowing and trusting all of these years of work that you put in, or the 2 months of work that you put in, right? Because some folks are don't have not performed in high school, to come in super prepared and having not had a coach or anyone or a high school theater teacher help you. That's brave, right? And that can come across too. I think that we've designed these audition experiences, like we're not a school where you walk in, do your thing, and then walk out and you're over, right? So you are with us for a chunk of time each day. There, in some of the programs, there are things you do not prepare for in advance that we give you on day of. Listen, these monologues and these songs can get really stale. And we know that some of the students have worked on these for so long that they're just like, there's just no life in them anymore. In which case I would say, get a new one, get new material.
And sometimes it's hard to redirect them when they're so locked into what's been drilled, and then you can't tell whether they're directable because they've been drilling it for so long.
I know, yeah, and the freedom to make new choices at any given point and continue to like dig in and find new exciting discoveries in it is well, as an actor, you always have to do that, right? It's a lifelong sort of thing, right?
It is.
We try to leave that behind and then focus on like, okay, let's see.
Absolutely. What else is in there?
What else? Yeah, what else? There's always more. There's always more. It's why our and maybe I'll just go on record and say this: the wild card, which is something that I came up with for the pre-screen. I should have traidmarked it because it's become an industry. It's become an industry.
And we're going to officially claim that.
Yeah, well,
Wayne Petro.
It was back in 2012, and we were jumping into the pre-screen thing, and the faculty were like, well, what should we have them do? And I was like, well, we should give them like a video space that kind of acts as like a special skills section of your resume, because this is a video opportunity. You can do anything you want. And I was like, well, what if we just call it like a wild card or something, like your something that just says something about you that you can never show in an audition room. We've had a lot of baking. We've had, tours of animal farms. And really, and songwriting and video projects. It makes it
interesting also for you as adjudicators in that space, filtering to see something new and different, and you probably see more of who they are.
Yeah, we had this one the other day, this applicant, I won't give too much away, but I think they're TikTok famous.
Okay.
And it looked like some of this was off, but they are a model, and they went through and adjudicated themselves based on their looks and their eye look specifically, because they have it's their feature that they were choosing to focus on, and they went through and like adjudicated themselves in all of these other in all this print work that they've done. So these are things that yeah, so it was just a cute little word that I thought to attach to a space that we really need. And
yes,
I think that students, I think everyone is taking it on a little bit, because we listen, these words that I'm saying are not unique to me necessarily. These are feelings that all of us in the college audition sphere need. We need to see who the human is in there.
Yes.
And I hear it from my colleagues at every school that we're, while all of our programs are very different from each other, and the curriculum is different in some ways, the faculty and obviously the location is different, but at the heart of what we do is trying to get to know the student enough to know if they're a right fit for our program. And then we give these offers out, and then it's in your court, and then you have to, and then we're the ones, and we say this a lot, but then we're the nervous ones in the process. Because you might not choose to come to our school. But there is a right place for everyone, for sure. That's why if you're wanting to be studying this as a craft for 4 years, you should be looking at a lot of different schools, and learning as much as you can from what each of us has to offer. But then again, and sometimes that might also show you that college isn't right for you right now, right? Or maybe not a 4-year experience is right. There are other programs out there that can give you connections that don't require you to be in college for 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any last thought that you have that you want to leave with the listeners? It sounds like your life really went in a direction that it was supposed to go in, based on all of the different, kind of twists and turns, and you got to, you have an opportunity to keep theater and performance in your life in such a wonderful, energetic, kind of, youthful and, I don't know, exhilarating way almost.
Truly, yeah. I mean, there are so many paths to, I feel so successful in what I do, because every day I get catharsis. Every day I feel fulfilled. I was talking to my boyfriend after Into the Woods, and I was like, this is my measure of success. Seeing these students on doing this type of work, and at the level of what they were doing.
Yeah, you're giving me chills. That's exactly how I feel. It's pretty special.
It is truly. We're a huge industry. There are so many jobs in the arts that do not involve being a lead in a show, right?
Exactly.
And I don't think I said this about Cornish, but Cornish was very specific. They're like, listen, we're not in New York. Broadway is not the success marker, right? There are many other ways to be an artist and support yourself as an artist without just going into Broadway or just being a TV and film star. So I think that sense of understanding the humanity in it was something that kind of was right there from the beginning at my days of Cornish. So,
which is wonderful, because parents even don't know, and definitely the kids don't know, that they could become a casting director. They could become an agent or a manager. They don't even know these things exist. It's such a closed door industry, and so many people keep so much information close to the chest and they don't want to share. And so another reason why I'm doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you do great work. Got to help these folks out.
Yes, exactly. I feel like we're both doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's like pulling back the curtain. Let's talk honest about how things work.
So thank you so much.
Of course, Lisa. It's great to see you.
I want to thank Wayne Petro for speaking with me today. He is one of the directors of enrollment for the School of the Performing Arts at Pace University in New York City. He also advises the first-year performing arts school students and teaches acting for the non-major at the university. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Do you need more information? Visit lbctalent.com and follow me on socials at LisaSolek_LBCTalent. By sharing our stories, we can help other talented individuals land the career of their dreams.